Hey friend, thank you for clicking this video. I'm so excited that you're here today, and I hope that you can just take a few minutes to sit back, relax, let this all just come in and absorb it, and maybe you can apply this to your current situation for the holiday season. I know that this time of year creates anxiety for a lot of reasons. Family stressors, relationships, all those kinds of things, and then we have to add in that other layer of food-related anxiety, and it can be a lot to juggle and a lot to handle and a lot of overwhelm that kind of hits us all at once. And so I just hope that a few tips that I gave you today can be useful for you for navigating the holidays and experiencing food freedom and reducing that anxiety that you might feel. The first thing that I want to talk about is that you are not defined by your choices with food. Okay, I know that the food-related anxiety spectrum can go one of two ways, right? On one hand, we have the overeating spectrum where you're just going to indulge and have a lot of food. That's kind of what we do in our culture on the holidays is overindulge with desserts. That's where it gets me. But so we have that overeating spectrum. Okay, and then on the other side, we have that health conscious person who is making choices that aligns with their health and their goals and what they want to do, but then with that we get like judgment from others, judgment from our family, comments made from our family being like, ooh, you shouldn't eat that, or ooh, you should eat some more. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. We even hear comments that people make about themselves, right? Well, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to work so hard to work this off. And it's like, maybe not. And then when you hear those things, what we hear comes into our thoughts, and then maybe we might start to think that way. And what we need to understand is that there should be no pressure during the holidays. You get to decide what your choices are and what you're comfortable with. And you don't need to let your aunt or uncle convince you to have that second piece of pie if you don't want to. So that brings me into my next point, which is you just need to be firm. Okay, we need to recognize that it's okay to stand up for yourself. If somebody doesn't understand why you're making a health-related choice during the holidays to not have a second piece of pie or another helping of mashed potatoes, that's on them, not on you. And your decision at the end of the day is something that you have to live with. It's okay to stand up for yourself and be firm in that. So I think that it is worth just taking a second to identify what your boundaries are with the holidays. So what you're comfortable with overindulging in or not overindulging in, what you're comfortable with setting goals for specific things to meet for your health. If you want to have a protein goal that day, if you want to give yourself a goal to just have 2 sweets, or if you want to give yourself a goal to just make sure you get your water in, or having veggies with every serving that you have that day. There's a lot of angles that you can take from that, but if you take the time to set up a plan and come up with something that's going to make you feel better, it's going to help you succeed better in managing the emotions surrounding that day. Something else that we have to acknowledge is that no foods are good foods, no foods are bad foods. You shouldn't go into it with the mindset of thinking that this is off limits and that you shouldn't be having it. When we have an abundance mindset surrounding food, it helps you to eliminate the anxiety and guilt that you feel for having 3 slices of pie, if that's what you do on holidays. I know that there's a lot of options. So sometimes we feel that pressure that we need to have, one of something because we don't want to necessarily make someone feel bad because we didn't enjoy their cooking. And that's not necessarily the case. But when you have the plan, you can better manage that. And when you understand that no foods are off limits and no foods are bad foods, that's going to really just set you up for better success taking on that holiday. Something else that I really like to bring us back to is just gratitude. We should be grateful for the holidays and for the time that we get to spend with people. And when we focus on the memories that we're creating, this is going to propel us forward in the future to last even longer, right? Memories are the thing that last. They last longer. In 10 years, you're not going to look back on Thanksgiving or Christmas 2020 and think about what you ate. You're going to think about who you were with and what you felt and what you experienced and the people that you were surrounded by. Those are the things that are going to be lasting. Food is temporary, and we shouldn't set it up to have power over us. Sure, food is part of the experience that we have with these people, but when you are sitting at the table surrounded by people you love, and you can take a second to just slow down and look up from what you're eating and notice who you're with, the sound of your grandma's laugh, the sight of your mom dancing in the kitchen, or your dad's bad dad jokes. Those are the things that we're going to remember, not how many servings you had on your plate that day. So taking a step back to focus on what you're grateful for and who you're with in the moment is something that I would really challenge you to do this year. So I'm going to give you 3 other tips that I like to follow when it comes to navigating the holidays. And the first is going to be hydration. Hydration is super key here, just to being a healthier, happier individual, right? But if we let that slack that day, especially if we're consuming alcohol, we just want to make sure that we're setting our system up to be successful, right? That's going to help us reduce water retention, and also having about 8 to 16 ounces right before a meal, like 20 to 30 minutes before a meal, is going to help increase the feeling of fullness a little bit sooner. So you might not eat as much. So that's just a good rule of thumb to follow. And recognize that if you do weigh yourself on a scale, the scale is probably going to go up after a holiday because we're having more food than normal for our system, increased salt, things like that. But if we can control our water and keep it as consistent across the board as we normally do, that's going to just set you up for more success. The next thing that I like to follow is a 1-plate rule. What do I mean by that is, well, when you go to have your Thanksgiving lunch or dinner, or Christmas lunch or dinner, you get 1 plate. You can have whatever you want on that plate. You can stack it as high as you want. If you want 2 rolls, throw them on there. As long as they fit, enjoy what's on that plate. You can prioritize protein and veggies and then get the other sides that you want as well. Whatever's going to make you feel best by that decision. But this helps us to understand that we don't have to be going back for seconds just because everybody else is. We can have what we have on that plate, and if it fully satisfies us, then that's it until we have dessert or are hungry later. The biggest thing, I think, is just trying to be in tune with your hunger cues and not necessarily eating just because everybody else is. So when you make your plan for that day, just kind of put yourself in that mindset to be like, okay, I'm going to listen to my body. I think that that is something really important to follow through on. And the 1-plate rule, like I said, just helps you to kind of avoid the excessive overeating just because everybody else is. So whatever fits on there, I want you to enjoy it. And then you move on and you focus on the experience. The last thing that I like to throw in there is chewing your food. We live in such a fast-paced culture where we don't necessarily take the time to be mindful with what we're consuming and chewing. And so digestion actually starts in your mouth. So you need to chew the food in order to help move it through and digest it well and reduce bloating and gastric distress. So chew your food, slow down. It is okay to be the last one eating at the table. Just really be mindful and take it all in. I'm going to leave you with this. Food is a fraction of your experience. It is a fraction of the memories that you will have from these days ahead. Whether you celebrate on one day or you have multiple celebrations because of the size of your family, I know things are going to look different this year, but my hope is that you can take in this information, make your plan, find what you're comfortable with and okay with, and reduce the guilt and shame and things that you feel surrounding food during the holidays, because it ultimately is about who we're with and what we get to do with our loved ones and the time that we share. Because life is precious and we might not know what next year will look like, and that's okay. But if you can just slow down a little bit this holiday to focus on the experience rather than what you're consuming, I think that you might find that that can change your perspective a little bit. 1 day of eating more than normal is not going to mess you up. It's not going to derail your progress. It might actually even help you a little bit, but don't go into it feeling like you overate 1 meal and so you might as well just say screw it and overeat the whole week. That's not the key to success here. The key is consistency and enjoying yourself. And so I hope that this holiday season you can do just that. Thank you for your time, and let me know if you have any questions.